Welcome to the Child Care Director's Chair, the podcast for bold educators who are ready to lead, grow, and shake things up in early childhood education. Whether you're a teacher eyeing that lead role, a lead stepping into leadership, or a center owner dreaming big, this is your space to grow with purpose and leave your mark. Hosted by heart-centered leadership coach Erica Sacosio, each episode brings you real talk, actionable tools, and a contagious laugh or two, all designed to help you step into your next level with confidence. So pour your coffee, pop in those earbuds, and take your seat, because your leadership journey starts right now in the Child Care Director's Chair.
Hey guys, your girl Erica here with the Child Care Director's Chair podcast. We have a great episode for you today. Well, every episode is pretty great. You know why it's great? Because you're here and I'm here and we're going to have a lot of fun. I want to let you know today we have a special guest with us. I'm going to give you a second to get to know a little bit more about her. But I want to ask you this. What if the reason that people overlook your expertise isn't your experience, but your visibility? In early childhood education, we are taught to nurture, to support, and stay behind the scenes. But what happens when you are the brand? When your leadership, your voice, and your image speak before anyone ever walks in the room? As we step into a new year, one question matters more than ever. What does your image say about you? Today, we are talking about walking into the new year bold, branded, and unapologetic as women in early childhood education, and why your program is more than a logo and you are more than a title. So today, I'm so happy to have on my show one of my friends, Renee Carbone Fleming. I don't want to miss that hyphenation. And she is a powerhouse, fellow podcaster, entrepreneur, and extraordinaire at all things. So I want to let her tell you a little bit about herself, a little bit about her journey, and then we'll get into the questions.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And yes, for those that want to follow me, it is Renee Carbone Fleming. I have been in the online entrepreneurial space for well over a decade. And I'm, first of all, I'm a mom, like a lot of us, and that's our, number one love. I live here in Rhode Island, grew up here, moved to Massachusetts, got divorced, did the whole thing. And now Rhode Island let me come back again, which is a beautiful thing. So I love being here.
So tell us a little bit, too, about your podcast. What's the name of that? And a little bit about what it's about.
You got it. So when I started in the entrepreneurial space, it was with a network marketing company. And I recognized early on that I needed to figure out a way that I could stand out amongst the sea of others so that I can help build my business. So that's when I started creating a personal brand, even before I knew personal branding was a thing. I've been very successful, very blessed to build a multi-million-dollar sales organization. That led me into creating the Badass Queen personal branding and media agency. And part of that is I'm an empowerment coach and a personal branding strategist. I'm so excited, just back off of a whirlwind in Las Vegas, where I received an incredible honor as the Empowerment Coach of the Year by the IAOTP, which I'm super proud of. And I share that because I want everyone, I've been screaming it from the rooftops, everyone needs to have a personal brand. And I created the Unapologetically Badass podcast so that I can showcase other women's journeys. Oftentimes, what we find is, especially women over 40, we pivot and change. Like we've learned so much in our lives, and we've all gone through ish in our lives. But it's, what did we learn from it? How did we overcome it? And how did we weave that perhaps into our careers and our growth? So I highlight other women that have gone through their journey and, and I try to showcase and highlight where they are now. And especially if they have a business, I'd love to do that. So yeah, I find that stories bring us together. And that really is the foundation of branding and personal branding, because when we know, oftentimes you hear the words, like, no, trust, but it really is true. When somebody likes you, they get to know you, they trust you, that's when they're going to do business with you.
Yeah. And there are so many teachers now. So for those of you who are listening going, Erica, what the heck? Yeah, every day I talk about, best practice and kids and keeping your team together and
Yeah.
keeping your sanity and balancing your life. And, we talk about all these things in those spaces. But, I thought today we were going to talk about you. And there's so many teachers that are like, creating these side hustles, and I'm gonna drop some names in this episode. But there's so many teachers doing side hustles, directors doing, additional things beyond their centers. There are owners who are running conferences and doing speaking gigs across the country. Like, this is the new face of early childhood education. And when you think about brands, I'll drop this really quick, right? Whether you like him or not like him, Childcare Whisperer has a brand. There's not a person in EC that doesn't know him, right? It's not a person on social media that doesn't know him. And if I say, what's his brand? Like, what he looks like, what's his vibe, how does he talk? Like, that already, right? So he has a very strong brand. And that's pretty much what we're going to talk about today for you. There's another person that I love. A shout out to Latrice. If you don't know her, AKA the childcare chick, this lady runs one center, a big one in Texas, but she is like taking ECE by storm. She runs one of the best conferences that I've ever seen. But she's a brand. Like, you go to IG, you look up, AKA Childcare Chick, and there's Latrice, and there is no mistaking on her IG. She is a brand. So I want that for you. For those of you who are listening, many women in early childhood education, they don't see themselves as a brand. So
Right.
why is that mindset holding them back?
Yeah, and that's so important because that's what I teach is in today's environment, we are going into in this recording, we are heading into 2026. Every single person needs multiple streams of income, unless you're Jeff Bezos, okay? But the rest of us who are not, we need multiple streams of incomes. You need plan A, B, C, D, E, F. You need every single one of them, right? And it's not a matter of showing up and go, I sell this or I'm doing this. If people don't know you, they're not going to do business with you. They're not going to learn from you. It's so important for teachers, especially knowing how underpaid and oftentimes undervalued those that are in the education world are. It's really important for educators to see themselves as the brand, because if they stay invisible, even though their expertise could be extraordinary, invisibility that's going to limit you. So if you don't define your value, the world is going to undervalue it for you.
Yeah.
And that's really the bottom line. So when women hear brand, they oftentimes they think, logos and marketing and self-promotion, but that's not what it is. It's really about how people experience you and your values, your leadership, your reputation.
Yeah.
It's really important that everyone creates that. When I say create, you already are a brand, but it's, discovering who really you are and your niche. And I love exploring how somebody can monetize their knowledge, because that right there, you don't need to take another course. You don't need to do anything, but monetizing your knowledge is so, so impactful.
I love that you said that. So I want to share a story really quick, and it's not about me, because I have a lot of strong, powerful ECE women in my network. So a perfect example of that is there's a teacher, her name is Tangi, and she worked in a public school, I believe. And, she was like, a real teacher, quote unquote, because she worked in public school. And during COVID, she started making she's very passionate about reading. She started making these books, the busy books for toddlers to help them with phonetics and reading and all that. Well, she didn't go back to teaching after COVID. She ended up just building this brand. You can look her up on IG, the Toddler Tutor. She is like making these busy books in production now, has like tripled her sales, and is now taking on YouTube and probably will be similar to Miss Rachel in a few years. So you can do it, but she had very clear vision of who she was and what she wanted to do with her knowledge. And so that's a perfect example of how somebody in EC took their knowledge and expanded it out. So now when you see Tandy, you're like, it's the Toddler Tutor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Visibility created the credibility. So she became very visible. And, a lot of times what stops people from getting visible is they don't have the path. Like they're going, okay, well, what do I do? Where do I start? How do, yes, I want to create a brand. Or yes, I have these great ideas, but I don't know where to go. Right. And
So they don't go anywhere. They're afraid to take that first step.
1000%. 1000%. So I love crafting, connecting with other women, because my whole thing, I never want women to feel stuck. Okay. So my journey, I grew my businesses out of a divorce. I'm not suggesting it to others, but when life hits you in the face, you've got to
Mhm.
do something. And I never
Mhm.
want that inspired me to really, I just don't want women to feel like they're stuck. I want people to know that
Mhm.
there are options out there to make extra money, whether that's make extra money for your family or because of
Yep.
philanthropic reasons or whatever everyone's reasons are, their why. But that is a super huge passion of mine. You could tell I get really excited about it and that's why I scream personal branding, multiple streams of income, because your career can change, where
Mhm.
you work can change, all of those things can change and
Yeah.
will. I mean,
Yeah.
and will, if you're young and you're listening to this and you
Mhm.
think you're going to be in one lane, well, guess what? Life is going to throw a lot of stuff at
Yeah.
you and you're going to pivot and change, right?
Yeah.
And by having a strong presence and personal brand, you can pivot and change and adapt and grow into something that it's just so fulfilling. And that's the thing. Once you have your brand and you know what your niche is and who you are and your value and what content you want to deliver and, all the things that fuel you, that makes you confident. And then that confidence starts to build and that gives you more visibility. And then that visibility grows and that gives you more credibility and the credibility gives you more cash flow. So it's a process. But yeah,
Yeah. So, Renee, let's talk about what's the difference between having a strong center brand and having a strong owner or leader brand, and why do successful programs need both?
Well, a program brand tells people really what you offer, right? This is exactly what we offer 5 days a week, 7 days a week, whatever it is, and it's the entire program. Personal brand tells people who they're trusting. Again, that personal brand, that's heart centered, right? Because
Mhm.
parents don't choose a center. They choose leadership, they choose vision, they choose values. So when the owner or director is visible and is confident and clear in their voice, the trust skyrockets. So the staff is going to buy in more deeply, parents are going to feel safer, and then the program itself becomes unforgettable, right? We want programs will scale when leaders really step out from behind the logo and just think the program is going to sell because it's phenomenal. If they don't know who you are, you can have the best program in the world. But if they don't have that no trust factor,
Mhm.
it's going to fall on deaf ears.
Yeah. Um, so you touched on this a little bit, but I just want to maybe do this from another lens. Like, how does personal branding change the way that parents, staff, and even policymakers view early childhood professionals? And you touched a little bit on parents and staff, but what about even policymakers? Because lots of times, especially in early childhood education, it's often like this perceived, I hate to say it, but like we're babysitters or the kids just play all day and what's the value in
Yeah.
that? And so, when you walk into, the legislation types of places or whether it's locally, nationally, whatever, how does the branding of the messaging, how does that matter?
It changes perception, right? Because
Mhm.
we talk again about the visibility really changes everything. If you have support from your peers or your staff or the community, that is a game changer, right? So when educators are visible and they're sharing their expertise, they're sharing their philosophy, they're sharing their leadership, they stop being seen as just childcare. Right? They
Yeah.
stop being seen as professionals, as thought leaders, as advocates. And that's going to impact how parents listen. That's going to impact how staff respect the leadership and even certainly how those policymakers take the field seriously. So really, when your voice is clear, your value becomes undeniable. That's why it's so powerful.
So for the teachers who are listening, who feel maybe called to either coaching or consulting or even writing that book or starting that side hustle, what's the first branding mistake that they usually make?
They jump right in and they go, what do I sell? And they're like, oh, wait, I can sell a fan for all of those hot flashes that we have in the, right? They start selling
Oh,
before they know who they're being, right? What am I known for? So it's like the cart before the horse, right? You can't just jump into what you want to sell without prepping and warming your audience and creating, and when I say creating, it's really just sharing who you are. But a lot of that takes a lot of self-discovery, right? And knowing who you are and what makes you tick, what really excites you, because I love sharing and helping people understand what their passion really is. Because a lot of times people want to sell to make money, but they're not passionate about it. And, I've raised my kids like this too. I don't care what it is you do in life. If you want to be a landscaper, you gotta love grass, right? You gotta love the environment. You gotta love being outside in inclement weather, right? Love exactly what you do. So when you have that true passion for whatever aspect in childcare, if that is, right, then you can monetize from that. But not knowing all of those things, that's the biggest mistake, is that they jump to try to sell stuff, right? They create offers really before they even clarify their message. So personal branding starts with identity. It starts with your story. It starts with your strengths, your lived expertise. I mean, that's huge. Because when all of that's clear, the opportunities just naturally align.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. My last year of life puts a stamp on that.
Yeah.
What you just said puts a stamp on it three
Good.
times fold. I was at, I don't know, probably 15 to 20 conferences this year, probably another 15 or so workshops, 450 podcasts. Yeah. So here's the thing, though, that I don't lack, that I do feel like when I meet people in the field, they sometimes lack confidence. And I feel like so many women struggle with confidence. So how does building a personal brand actually help strengthen that confidence and leadership?
This isn't something that you're born with, right? This is something that you build. I was not always this bold and confident. Definitely not. I've grown into it, and I've grown into it with my branding and also with experience, right? We talk about being scared of making that first step, right? Fear always holds us back in everything that we do. When you make the decision, when you know exactly who you are, right? And you know what your passion is, and you know that you have value to give other people. And that's the thing. That's the difference between selling and, sharing with confidence. I know I bring a ton of freaking value to people. I know my expertise. I've got a lot to share with the audience, right? And that's what gives me the confidence, because I am centered in my knowledge. But that takes practice. Again, the confidence is one thing that grew because I just made that decision to become visible. And women articulate what they stand for, and they consistently show up as that version of themselves. The confidence becomes a skill, and it's not a personality trait. Does that make sense?
It does. And,
Yeah.
for those who are just listening on the podcast, don't see the video. I love when you had that little, you can't see her, but I can. She put her little fingers together and turned like a key as she said that. And I'm thinking it really is that switch, that mindset switch, right? Which rolls me into the next thing, right? Because what would you say to those educators who think that they need to be perfect before putting themselves out there? Because that's the thing, right? But the bad news is we're never gonna be perfect. So
Yeah, good luck. Good luck waiting for that one.
get it going, girl.
Get it going, right? So I would say go look at my social media. You want to talk about imperfect, right? I always share I'm perfectly imperfect, right? Again, I talk about women a lot, and this goes for both men and women. But my audience is women, so I tend to talk to that person, right? But perfection is the biggest confidence killer, the biggest one. You don't need a polished image. In fact, you need an unpolished image because you need an authentic one. People want to connect with real people. The stuff we see oftentimes on social media, and it looks so perfect, an AI image. And don't get me wrong, I love I love me some AI, right? I love some polish and some, wizardry periodically. However, there's a reason why you use those polished tools. But people really don't connect with perfection. They connect to presence, right? So your growth is going to happen because you show up, not before. So, you don't become confident and then you show up, and then confidence follows.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So waiting to be perfect, I mean, good luck with that. You're going to be waiting for the rest of your life, right? Be like Nike. Just do it.
Yeah.
Right? But it's often, it's funny to like say it and go, but it really is true. Like, think about what is the worst thing. And I share this with my clients and my team members, right? They're afraid of being on camera and showing themselves and, oh my gosh, or going live. That's like, oh my gosh, right? What if I look funny? What if I stumble? What if? Who cares? Right? And the
Usually a
more
good
you
laugh.
do,
You usually get a good laugh.
and
Then
you're
they
going to
love you
use
more.
that. Absolutely. And they're going to go, oh my gosh, she's my girl. The other thing knowing is I know for a fact I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay, right? I'm not
Yeah.
meant to work with everyone. Not everyone's going to like me. I'm okay with that. I
Yeah.
don't like everyone either, right? I can
Yeah.
respect everyone, but you know who your person is. You know who your people
Sure.
are, right?
Yeah.
So when I started in my career, I thought, and when I started my entrepreneurial career, especially, but also in a career, I tried to act like how I thought people should be
Hmm.
acting or how I thought the perception of me should be. So I was putting a lot of emphasis on other people and how I thought I needed to show up for them. When I finally embraced my Renee-ness, right?
Yeah.
Then that's when things started to happen because I go like, this is me. I'm bold. I'm bad A, right? This is my brand. This is who I am. Like me or don't. That's okay. I'm totally good, right? But when I embraced it and I acknowledged it and I celebrate it, then people are like, "Oh, that's my girl." Others are like, "Whoo, run away," and that's totally fine too. Totally fine.
Yeah. You said so many things there, but I do love, that being your authentic self. Perfect example. Last year, I ran my first conference that I actually was the conference host presenter. I also did the keynote. Well, I had run around all morning getting everything prepared. I think we were at the hotel like 5 a.m, getting everything prepared. By the time it was time for my keynote, I had picked out all the clothing, all the perfectness. Do you
Yeah.
know by the time it was time for me to do the keynote, I showed up with my hair up in a ponytail, a t-shirt. I just grabbed the mic. I didn't even use my slides and I just spoke from my heart and it was amazing. Right.
Yep.
And then when I was done, I was like, oh my God, I didn't get, and then I was like, it was great. It was
Yeah.
great. And it was the
Yeah.
Erica that people knew.
Well,
So I am
exactly.
what you
It's
get.
the
Right.
Erica that people knew, right? I am who I am, right?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
why people love you because we know what we get with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the important
That's
part.
true. So early childhood education is often seen as a very soft and nurturing field. How do we redefine boldness and strength as women in the field? Which is probably why I love Latrice so much. Because, in our field, particularly privately owned childcare centers, we're almost supposed to like feel bad if we do well, feel
Right,
bad if we make money.
right,
Like it's a business.
right.
It's a
Yeah,
business, right? The mechanic doesn't feel bad when he has a profitable year, but
yeah.
for some reason,
I
us in
know.
the nurturing field are supposed to like shrink ourselves, don't be both like,
Right.
yeah. So, how do we redefine boldness and strength? Because we do need leaders in this field. We
Uh,
can't just keep getting, rolled over by every policy,
yes,
everything. And, people just want to be disrespectful and all this thing. That's not okay. And you
right,
wouldn't do it in other fields. You wouldn't,
right.
you wouldn't disrespect your doctor, right?
Yep. In fact, the doctor's going to make you wait 2 hours for the appointment that you booked, even though it's your time, right?
Yeah.
And they don't go like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to give you a discount for that." No, they're like, "This is the
Yeah.
same price, and you're lucky you're seeing me." So here's the thing, especially in a caring profession, bold doesn't mean loud; it means rooted, right? So boldness in early childhood doesn't mean being aggressive or being flashy. It's rooted in your values. It's advocating for your worth because you have tremendous worth and you have to self-advocate for that.
Mhm.
It means leading with clarity instead of apology. So strength and nurturing are not opposites.
Yeah.
That's the important thing that those in childcare need to understand. Strength and nurturing are not opposites. They're partners.
Yeah.
So if you have soft leadership, strong boundaries, That is a powerful leadership.
Yeah, I think when you think about other living creatures, not just humans, but when you think about who's strong and you think of you think of lionesses, right? They're the ones who go out and do the hunting while dad stays home with the baby cubs.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it is okay you can still be soft and still
Yes.
be strong, like as you said.
Yep.
So as we start to wind down,
Yeah.
as we walk into the new year, maybe what's one thing that could be done differently in the new year to elevate your personal brand and if what is the one thing and what should it be, I guess?
I would think it's being intentional about visibility. So, this year, maybe stop waiting to be invited, stop waiting to be invited,
Mhm.
and start positioning yourself as the expert, right? Share what you know, speak from experience, let people see the women behind the role. Because really, visibility isn't ego. It's not. It's service, right? You need to let people know who you are. Nobody's going to come knocking on your door. Very few people, don't get me wrong, not nobody, but very few people are going to come knocking on your door, whether that's through social media DMs or really in person, and go like, I just know that you are fabulous. No, you got to tell them how fabulous you are. Okay? You got to tell them. You got to show them. You got to tell them. But it's a way of doing it, right? You're not going to go online and, you can't say I'm the best childhood educator because, yes. And I started this off saying, I just got top empowerment coach of the year. That doesn't come from ego. That comes from a place of gratefulness. This
Yeah.
journey wasn't, just whoo, right from
Yeah.
the top. This journey was up and down and things that you're like, I'm
Yeah.
going to quit. I'm going to do this again. I'm not going to do this. Like, there are all of that. So when you truly know that you have something great to offer, it's not ego. It's, I know I want to help other people. And those that are in, childhood care, you want to help people. So you
Yeah.
want people to know who you are and what your heart serves. So I would really be intentional about visibility. And it's
Yeah.
not how often you show up that often gets confusing. How many times do I show up and I don't know what to say or what to do on social media and all that stuff. And I get that. It's not showing up like posting a million times. It
Mhm.
should be intentional. And there's a
Yeah.
way of being intentional with that and being
Mhm.
authentic.
I think the other thing too, and maybe this is just my mindset because I'm older, social media definitely has its place. But I also think like if you want to become a speaker, start local. You don't need not everybody I'm in Rhode Island. You don't need to know about me in Texas until I've got Rhode Island on lock. Like truly, get
Yeah.
in rooms with the people who will share your name in other rooms.
Get in
Uh,
the rooms. That is
in the
it.
room, be in the room.
Yes, you want to message people, email people, right? Get to know who they are. Look this up. Everything is figure outable, right? You can know where you got to be. If you need to go to networking groups, go to networking group. That's how Erica and I met. It was through multiple networking groups and then see you at a conference and see you here, see you there. Those things matter. And it's truly something to remember that you are not a one and done networker. Everything we do is multiple times. You have to, and then again, that all goes through
Right. You
right
mean I
back to
can't
the
just go to
visibility.
one place and then be world famous?
No, no,
Darn.
no. I know. Well, some can, but very few can't. So
Yeah.
for those of us
Okay.
that can and still have to be out there,
Yeah. You got to be
take
out there.
some advice.
Well, Renee, I love everything that you're saying because it's not just theory, it's transformation really. And that's exactly why we are bringing you to the main stage at the Early Education Empowerment Conference. So if today's conversation made you reflect, challenged you, maybe lit a fire under you, then you do not want to miss Renee live on the main stage at our conference. It's not about marketing tricks, it's about owning your voice, claiming your expertise, and stepping into your leadership as a woman in early childhood education. And I know I got some listeners out there that are men. Hello, Trevor. There's many of them, but predominantly, this is a women-driven field and we need to support each other. So if you're a center owner ready to elevate your leadership presence, a director building influence beyond your building, or a teacher ready to be known as that go-to expert in your space, Renee's session will help you walk into next year with purpose, confidence, branding, all intentional, as she said. So join us at the Early Education Empowerment Conference, check out Renee. We're going to put her links below. Check out her podcast. It is very funny and very real, very raw. You will love it. We'll put the link for that as well. As always, Renee, it's always a pleasure connecting with you. I'll be talking to you soon. And that's it for today, guys. So again, thank you for tuning into the Child Care Directors Chat podcast, where today we're doing things a little out of the box.
Thank
See you later.
so much.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Child Care Director's Chair, where we believe leaders aren't born, they're grown. If something sparked for you today, share it, shout it out, or pass it along to the next bold changemaker in childcare. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected with Erica Sacosio for more real talk leadership tools and a whole lot of inspiration. Until next time, lead with heart, grow with fire, and always remember, the chair is yours. Now own it.